Okay, let's go on to the next part of the exam review. When they ask you what is the number of real solutions, you are going to be using the discriminant. Now, if you don't remember the discriminant, it is part of the quadratic formula. So it is b squared minus 4ac. So we have to be able to look at the problems that we have and be able to identify the pieces. So in this first problem that we have, I assume there's a -1 out there. So A is -1, B is 9, and C is 7. So I'm going to plug it into b squared minus 4ac. So I'm going to have 9 squared minus 4 times -1 times 7. And this goes into my calculator. Now, when I plug that into my calculator, I really have 3 possibilities of what's going to happen. It's going to be positive, it's going to be 0, or it's going to be negative. So when I plug this into my calculator, I end up getting 109. Now, here's the deal. If it is positive, that means it's going to have 2 real solutions. It can be any 2 positive answers, or any 2, as long as it's positive, it's going to be 2 positive real solutions. So since that's a positive number, that's going to be C. Okay, so 2 real solutions. So if this number, instead of being 109, let's say that when I solved this, let's see if I can. So if I do b squared minus 4ac, remember how we said they're going to be positive, it's going to be 0, or it's going to be negative. So if it's positive, it's 2 real solutions. If it's 0, it's 1 real solution. And if it's negative, it's going to be no real solutions. And depending on what I have, it might be 2 imaginary numbers. But for us, since we're just looking for real solutions, you won't even have to worry about that part. So if I look at this next one, I kind of have an issue here because to be able to use b squared minus 4ac, it had to equal 0 like the first one does, and this one doesn't. So I'm going to take this down here on the bottom, and I'm going to make it equal 0. And I'm going to do that by adding 3 to both sides. So it's going to be 8x squared minus 11x plus 3 equals 0. So here's A, here's B, and here's C. And I'm going to plug it into b squared minus 4ac. So negative 11 squared minus 4 times 8 times 3. And that's going to get put into my calculator. So when I plug that into my calculator, I end up with 25. Now, since 25 is a positive number, that means it has 2 real solutions. So that means that as far as 11 goes, my answer is going to be B. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. Just trying to make myself some room here. So if I look at this equation, it does not have an equal 0. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to make it equal 0. So I'll start by adding 7x. So it's going to be x squared plus 7x. This canceled and I'm left with 7. Then I'm going to subtract 7. And now I finally have an equal 0. So remember, out here in front, I assume there's a 1. That's my A. That's B. And that's C. So I'm going to plug it into b squared minus 4ac. So b is 7. So 7 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 7. And I'm going to plug this whole part into my calculator. So when I plug that into my calculator, I end up with 77. Since it's a positive number, that means it has two real solutions. So that means as far as 12 goes, my answer is going to be C. Okay, now, let's see, where's my next problem?